السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. حياكم الله جميعا في محاضرة مختصرة ومبسطة عن الكتابة الأكاديمية. So, hello everyone. Today, inshallah, I would like to talk about how to write a discussion essay. It's going to be a short and brief. First and foremost, I'm Dr. Mohammed Al-Sheikhi, and inshallah, as I've already said, I'm going to talk about how to write a discussion essay briefly. So these are my accounts where I'm going, inshallah, to upload the video. So Telegram and YouTube as well. So what I'm going to cover exactly today is the importance of an introduction. So I'm going to talk about how an introduction is important in your essay, and then I'm going to look at how to write a good introduction, and then how to write a discussion essay. So first and foremost, let's see the importance of an introduction. A good introduction does several things. So when you start writing an essay, you need to look at your introduction. So because the first thing that an examiner will look at is your introduction. So your introduction, it will tell me who you are, if you are a good writer or not. So a good introduction does several things. It gives an excellent first impression. So that's the first impression. Are you answering the question right now correctly or not? It shows the examiner that you understand the question. So if you write it in a good manner, okay, so that means you understand the question fully. It also gives the examiner a brief overview of what you will cover in the rest of the essay. Okay, so it tells me what are you going to analyze in the next paragraphs. It also focuses your thoughts and keeps you on track while writing. So when you have a good start, everything is going to be clear for you and for the reader as well. I've got a name for, or I've divided the three main, I would say, structure, the three-part structure. So a good introduction has a simple three-part structure. So number one, when you understand your title, so you need to paraphrase the question. You need to paraphrase the question. So you need to rewrite it in your own words. So you need to change the wording, okay? So this is a good start. And then you can write about the thesis statement and then the outline. We will discuss them, I would say, not briefly, but we will discuss them with more examples and details. So this structure can be used for any type of question. So when you are talking about paraphrase questions, thesis statement, and outline statement, so you could write them in 2 or 3 sentences between 40 and 60 words long. I believe they might take 5 minutes to write. Okay, so before I show you how to write a good introduction, I want to flag up or to draw your attention to some common errors students make to help you avoid them, inshallah, in future, especially in your final exam. So it is so soon. I think it is the day after tomorrow. So 4 common errors. The first error that you should avoid in your introduction is not being specific enough. So it is tempting to start your essay with a general statement about the topic of the question. So some students, they attempt to start their essays with too general statements about their topic. So in this way, I really recommend you not to do this. So I really recommend you to not do this. So try to be specific. Be as specific as you can. Okay. So there is an example here. So this is a question. Everybody should become a vegetarian. So this is a main word here, a vegetarian, because eating meat can cause serious health problems. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Okay. So the point here is about vegetarian, to become a vegetarian, to become a vegetarian. This is the main point here. So here we have got an example of a bad first sentence. He says, it is a poor opening sentence. The writer says, these days, many people are worried about their health and changing their diet. Okay, we are not talking about talking a general idea. We are talking about a specific one, to become a vegetarian. So he says, worried about their health. So that's too general. And changing their diet is one way that they try to improve it. This is not a question about health in general. So we are not talking about health in general, but one is specifically about becoming a vegetarian for health reasons. So we are talking about the main point here. The main idea is to become a vegetarian. So, but the writer here was too general here, okay? And that's not a good start. And I don't really recommend you to do so. A good first sentence will paraphrase the question, as I said earlier. So to paraphrase the question, in other words, it will state the same information using different language or wording, different sentence structure as well. So when you paraphrase, it doesn't mean that you need to change the synonyms, the words alone, but you need to restate the ideas in your own words, okay? Don't change the meaning, but change the structure and the words as you can, okay? So moving on to the number 2, not writing a thesis statement. Thesis statement is so essential, okay, in your introduction. It is a summary. It summarizes the main idea of your essay, okay? So it makes it clear and easy, okay, for yourself and for the reader as well. When the examiner reads it or the reader reads it, they will instantly know whether or not you have understood the question correctly. It also acts as an outline for the rest of your essay. So this statement, it summarizes the main point of your essay. This makes the thesis statement the most important sentence in your essay. And that's true. If you get it right, you will have got off the perfect start. You will have a good opening sentence. So a thesis statement can go at the end of your introduction paragraph, okay? It goes at the end of your introduction paragraph. It might be 1 sentence or 2 sentences. So there is an example of a thesis statement. The writer says here, this essay agrees that the world's population should stop consuming meat due to the related health risks. not here, the use of synonyms to paraphrase the question. Okay. So here, this is a paraphrasing of this question. Everybody should become a vegetarian because eating meat can cause serious health problems. Here it says, this essay agrees that the world's population should stop consuming meat due to the related health risks. Okay, so eating meat, maybe in certain amounts, okay, maybe to go extra of eating meat, might lead to, health risks. So here it is so specific, and that's what you are going to discuss or analyze in your next paragraphs, especially in body 1 and body 2 paragraphs. Moving on to number 3, not stating your opinion. So that's essential, again. So to say your opinion. So there are some questions are direct, which ask you to state your opinion. Some of these questions might look like, number 1, to what extent do you agree or disagree? Okay. So here, the writer wants you to state your opinion. Do you agree with this point or disagree with it? Number 2, discuss both views. So you have 2 different views and give your own opinion. So these 2 questions are direct. Sometimes you have been asked, indirectly. So like question number 3, what are the advantages and disadvantages of tourism in the modern world? So here, again, we need, the writer needs you to state your opinions. However, your opinion, the main idea of your essay is still required. So it is important to state your opinion in your essay. If you always include it in the introduction as well as throughout your essay, you won't go wrong. That's the good way. It is the good way to write your introduction. The last but not least, number 4, for the 4 errors that lots of students make when writing their essays, using an appropriate language. So you need to use an academic language, formal language. So try to avoid informal language or slang words, okay? So keep it simple. Let's move on now to the next point. It's how to write a great introduction. So how to write a good introduction. Here is a reminder of the 3-part structure you should use for an essay writing. That's what I've already mentioned. Okay, so in the previous pages, paraphrase the question. So rewrite the question in different wording, in different words. Thesis statement and outline statement. I would say you can bring thesis and outline statements together in one sentence. That would be absolutely fine. Okay. So paraphrase question. Let's have an example. State your introduction by paraphrasing the question. We have here a question. Some young people are leaving the countryside to live in cities and towns, leaving only old people in the countryside. Do you think this is a positive or a negative development? So let's see first about the, the paraphrase, how the writer here has paraphrased the question, and then we will talk about what he has also done with the synonyms. So here he says, the the migration of the younger generation to urban area is leaving many rural locations populated predominantly by the elderly. So let's see here, let's compare and contrast between the question and the paraphrased question. First and foremost, the writer here has replaced some phrases and words with others. So young people with younger generation. So talking about young people, so the younger generation. Countryside, so rural locations, countryside, rural. So when you are talking about rural areas, so you are talking about villages, okay, small areas, okay. When you are talking about cities and towns, big cities or towns, so you are talking about urban areas, okay. Leaving, so you can use moving, but he used migration, so that would be absolutely correct. And old people, the synonym of this word can be the elderly, so he has used these words and phrases instead of what has been mentioned in the question. So let's see here, some young people are leaving the countryside to live in the cities and towns. He says the migration of the younger generation to urban area. Okay, so he hasn't just replaced the words with other synonyms, but also rewrite the whole structure differently. Okay. So, and then he says, leaving many rural locations populated predominantly by the elderly. So here, instead of leaving only old people in the countryside, that means the young people, okay, are leaving the rural areas, the countryside, the villages, okay, and then to move to cities and towns. However, they have left the old people in the countryside alone. So here they says, leaving many rural locations populated predominantly. We are talking about, so noticeable. So it can be, so that means the old people become predominant, outnumbers the young people in the countryside because of the migration of the younger generation to the cities. So now we understand the question, we divided the question, and we paraphrased the question. So it's a good start. So you don't have to replace all the words, but do so where possible without making the sentence sound awkward, okay? So you don't need to change each single word with a sentence, but you can do this as possible as you can. It is fine to repeat one or two words. For example, when we have words that might be unchangeable. So you can keep it, okay, and repeat it once or twice or 3 times. It's okay, as long as it is the main point and you can change it. Okay, so let's move on to the thesis statement, which is essential, extremely essential here. It's extremely important. The thesis statement states your opinion on the topic. So it summarizes the main idea, okay? So you need to decide whether to agree or disagree with the point or the question, okay? So, and then you retrieve the main idea of the statement, okay? To restate it again. For example, for instance, this essay argues that the loss of young people from the rural landscape has problematic consequences. Again, so here we are talking about the younger generation, the young people when they moved from rural to urban. So he says the lose. So the lose. So moving. So when the younger generation is the future, the elderly people is not. So it is when they move from the countryside to the cities, it is a loss. It becomes a loss for the countryside, for the development of the countryside. So and it would have problematic consequences. So when you are talking about landscape, so the rural landscape, yeah. When you are talking about rural landscape, we are talking about landscape. It's everything you can see. So here it is about countryside, rural countryside landscape. So landscape, it is the countryside. Okay, landscape is the countryside. So again, so rural landscape, it is a synonym of countryside. That's the thesis statement. That's what you are going to analyze or talk about in the next paragraphs in body 1. So this thesis statement states the opinion of the writer and phrases the question. Okay, again, paraphrase it in a way that makes this view clear. So outline statement. Finally, in the introduction, you must outline the 2 main points that you will cover in the rest of the essay. This acts as a guide to the examiner and also helps you to keep you focused and on track as you write. Do it in 1 sentence, or you can add them onto the end of the thesis statement if appropriate. If I were you, I would add write the thesis and outline statements together in 1 or 2 sentences together. Okay, so let's have outline statement, an outline statement example. The 2 most serious are the depletion of the rural workforce and the loss of local education facilities. So here the reduction of the rural workforce. Younger people are the workforce, not the elderly. So here we have a reduction, depletion, okay? And the loss of the local education facilities. So who are the educated people here? It's the younger. So those who are the bright future, okay? The younger generation is the bright future. And that's here we have 2 main ideas. So number 1, the depletion of the rural workforce and the loss of the local education facilities. And that's what you are going to talk about in body 1, main body 1, main body 2. So as long as you have mentioned the first one as the depletion or the reduction of the rural workforce, then it must go in body 1. Body 2, so it would be the second main idea, the loss of local education facilities. So now the finished introduction. So we are at the last step in our introduction. So now let's pull the whole introduction together, okay, and see it as a whole, in a whole picture. Question: some young people are leaving the countryside to live in cities and towns, leaving only old people in the countryside. Do you think this is a positive or a negative development? This is our question. So let's see here how did we paraphrase the question? How did we write this statement? How did we write the outline statement as well? So we said the migration of the younger generation to urban areas is leaving many rural locations populated dominantly by the elderly, and we explained this in detail previously. And then the thesis statement, it summarizes the main point. This essay argues that the loss of young people, so the loss is when they move from the countryside to the cities. So it is a loss to the countryside, to the landscape, the rural landscape, which is the countryside, which this loss leads problematic consequences. So what are the problematic consequences? The reduction or the depletion of the rural workforce, number one. Number two is the loss of the local education facilities. So these three sentences, the paraphrasing, thesis statement, and outline statement, exactly follow the three-part structure I showed you for creating introductions to your writing essay, and also avoid the common mistakes or errors I outlined above. Moving on to the last point, which is the main point of our lecture or lesson for today, is to plan and write discussion essays. A student can find it difficult to identify discussion essays and often confuse them with either opinion essays or advantage and disadvantage essays. I will explain this briefly, and then we will focus on discussion essays. This is one of the issues I will be covering in this lesson. I'm also going to show you how to plan and write discussion essays step by step. Here's what we'll be covering: identifying discussion essays. 3 common mistakes that students make when writing discussion essays. Discussion essay structure, how to plan, how to write an introduction, how to write main body paragraphs, and how to write a conclusion in your discussion essay. Let's have the question in our discussion essay. The first part of the question for a discussion essay will be a statement containing 2 opposing views. So you have 2 views, okay? One is opposite the second one. So you will then be asked to discuss both sides. So you need to discuss both of them, both sides of the argument, and give your own opinion. Here is some typical wording that might be used. So the question might be, discuss both views and give your opinion. So you need to discuss view A and view B, and then you need to give also your opinion. Or a question like, discuss both these views and then give your own opinion. So both views. Discuss both sides of this argument and give your own opinion. So view A and view B, and then your opinion. So 3 things you need to discuss. Let's have a question. The question here says, some people think that zoos are cruel and should be closed down. So cruel and should be closed down, this is the view number 1, or view A. Other people, however, believe that zoos can be useful in protecting wild animals. So view number 2, or B, useful in protecting wild animals. So some people think, group A, think that the main idea here, the main point, is that zoos are cruel and should be closed down. Other people say, no, we believe that the zoos can be useful in protecting wild animals. So we understand now the question, that the main idea, the main point here is this, talking about the zoos. People A said, okay, we believe zoos are cruel and should be closed down forever. Others say no, we believe in an opposite way. So we believe, or we think, that zoos can be useful in protecting wild animals. So here, the question discuss both views and give your opinion. So you need to discuss cruel, the idea of cruel and should be closed down, one point. And the second point is useful in protecting wild animals in this body two. And then you must give us your opinion, what you think about it. It doesn't matter if you agree with this one or the second one, but you must discuss both of them. So now I will be using this question to guide you through the process of planning and writing a discussion essay. The key to identifying this type of question is the fact that you are required to discuss both views, as I said earlier. So discuss point A and point B, and then give us your opinion. So this is different to opinion questions, where you must decide between two opposing views and make an argument to support your own opinion. So in discussion essay, you will discuss two views and give your opinion, okay? In opinion essays, or it is called agree or disagree, you need to, you must decide between, you have two views, opposing views. You will decide between one of them, okay? And then support your own opinion. You will choose one and discuss it, okay? And support your own opinion, why you agree with this, okay? So it is opinion essays. It is also known as agree or disagree essays, okay? The questions might be like this. What's your opinion? Do you agree or disagree? To what extent do you agree or disagree? This is about opinion essay. So now we understand the difference between the opinion essay and the discussion essay. Okay, so the last one is the advantages and disadvantages essay. What is it? It is the statement will contain just one view, and question will typically be written as shown in the same question. So it is the same opinion essay. You will tell us, you will look at one view, one point, and you will tell us the advantage of this point and the idea and the disadvantage of it. مثال هنا, we have an example. School children are using computers in school more than ever. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of this and give your own opinion. So here, we are talking about just one idea. It's about computers, using computers in schools by children. Tell us the advantages and disadvantages. Okay, 3 common mistakes or errors that a student might make. These 3 errors are common in discussion essays. Not stating your opinion. So you must state your opinion, as we said. Not giving arguments for both views. So in the discussion essay, discuss A, discuss view B, and give us your opinion. Not developing both sides of the argument equally. So you must balance between view A and view B. Okay, if you give us 3 examples for A, so you must give us 3 examples for B, view B. So you need to balance. Okay, so you need to develop both sides of the argument equally. So here, in the most common mistake that the student make is not giving their opinion. This is number 1. And the question will clearly state that you must choose one side of the argument to agree with. If you fail to do so, you will get a low score for task achieved. So it doesn't matter which side of argument you take, or even that you actually agree with it. However, you must give equal attention to both sides. A common error is to provide a stronger argument for the view you favor. So you have 2 views. You need to discuss them equally, as we said. Just avoid providing a stronger argument for one view, for one view. So try to be equal, try to balance between the two sides, okay, of the arguments. Discussion essay structure. Now let's look at a simple structure you can use to write a discussion essay. write discussion essays. It's not the only possible structure, but it is the one I recommend because it is easy to learn and will enable you to quickly plan and write a high-level essay. So it is not a fixed rule. ما هو شيء ثابت, but you can change it, yes. But it is much better. I would recommend to follow. Okay. So introduction, main body, paragraph 1, main body, paragraph 2, and then conclusion. In your introduction, paraphrase the question, state 2 supporting reasons, give your opinion. Okay. And this one, when you state your 2 supporting reasons and give your opinion, you could do this in your thesis statement and outline. You might bring them together in 1 or 2 sentences as a thesis statement. It is entirely up to you if you can make it so, and if you are confident enough to do so, then why not? So moving on to the main body, paragraph 1. So the most important thing here to do is to write your topic sentence. Outline the view you don't agree with. So to be honest, it doesn't matter if you start with the one that you agree or disagree with, but if you start with the one that you don't agree, might be much easier for you, but it doesn't matter at all. Explanation, explain this idea, okay? And then give us an example. It's simple. Topic sentence, the main idea, explain it, give us an example. Main body, paragraph 2, the second view, maybe the view that you agree with, explain it and give us an example, and then the conclusion where you summarize the key points or main ideas or main points, and then you state your opinion in different wording. So this structure gives us a well-balanced essay with 4 paragraphs. We now need some ideas to add into the structure, and we'll have everything we need for our essay. So now it is where we can plan to our discussion essays. So number 1, as I've already mentioned, is to analyze the question. Analyze your question. Paraphrase your question. Restate your question in different wording, in different words, in different structure. Okay. Make it simple. Keep it simple as you can. So this is an essential step in the planning process and will ensure that you answer the question fully. It's quick and easy to do. You just need to identify 3 different types of words here. Okay, so when you analyze that question, the first one is when you are talking about topic words. Okay, and then other keywords, and the last one, number 3, is about instruction words. So talking about the first one, topic words are the ones that identify the general subject of the question. So for example, we have a question here. It says, some people think that zoos are cruel and should be closed down. Others, however, believe that zoos can be useful in protecting wild animals. We have already clarified the 2 views, A, cruel and should be closed down, B, useful in protecting wild animals. Where the topic word here is zoos. So you can change it. So it is the main point. It is the main idea of our question. So you can't change it. So that's what we need to answer our question about. So this question is about zoos, as we said. So many people do this first step of the process and then write about the topic in general. Don't write about a general statement. Be specific, okay? This is a serious mistake and leads to, to get low marks for task achievement. What we need to do now that we know the general topic is to understand exactly what aspect of zoos we are being asked to write about. So let's move on to the second point, is the other keywords. We have other keywords in the question. So I've highlighted them in different colors just to make it simple for you. So I said some people, there's Group A, talking about the zoos cruel and should be closed down. Group B, believe that zoos can be useful in protecting wild animals. So let's move on here by highlighting these words. So this is the other keywords. The cruel should be closed down, useful protecting wild animals, some people, other people. So these are the other keywords. That's what I'm saying or mean, what I mean. By highlighting these words, it's easy to see that you are being asked to write about the opposing views, and zoos are cruel and should be closed down, number one, and that zoos can be useful in protecting wild animals. So your essay must only include ideas relevant to these ideas. So these are the other keywords. The last point here is about the instruction words are the actual question. It's the question itself, the question that we have already been discussed. Okay, so the second point of where most of the students make mistakes about when they write their essay is, as already mentioned, it doesn't matter if you genuinely agree with the view to take in your essay or not. Discussion essays are about your ability to write a well-structured essay in English language. You will not be assessed in any opinion you might hold. So I don't, as an examiner, I don't care if you agree or disagree with this opinion, but the most importantly here is just to be able to write a well-structured essay in English language. That's it. Choose one view and make sure that your opinion is clear throughout the essay. For this model essay, I'm going to agree with the statement that zoos are cruel and should be closed down. So that's, I will go with. The last one here, so we talked about deciding in your opinion. The last one is generate ideas. So brainstorm your idea. The next task is to generate some ideas to write about. These are several different ways to think of ideas. Plan your essay around the ideas. So you need to generate your ideas, okay, before you write. So we have here for the topic, a cruel, so brutal, closed down, crammed cages. When we are talking about crammed, we are talking about confined, so like a prison, a place that's not being enough, not big enough for the people or animals or things in it. Cages, so here we are talking about crammed cages. So animals distressed, so we are talking about distress when it is a state of extreme suffering or pain, okay, for animals. And natural environments, so cages are not natural environments, okay. Most animals not endangered. Why you are keeping them in cages as long as they are not endangered, okay. Animals become a public spectacle for entertainment. So people use animals, they put them in cages just for, you know, for entertainment, okay. So that's the main idea why the group A think that that's cruel, that's brutal, and it should be closed down. I'm talking about the zoos. Other people say, no, that's zoos are useful. They protect wild animals. Okay, so they say they believe research work to learn more about wild animals. Breeding program. So when we are talking about breeding program, it means it's the planned breeding of a group of animals. Okay, for endangered species. Okay, so they believe they can breed they can, you know, have save the endangered species of animals, and they can have breeding programs to have more animals and keep them away from extinction. some species saved from extinctions, as we said, and seeing wild animals close up inspires people to wanna help protect them. So I've got more ideas than I need, so I'm going to pick two to develop in the essay, one of each of the main body paragraphs. As we can say, as we can see here, A and B, we have each 4 ideas, but we don't need all of them. So I'm going to pick up 2 in each, okay? For each, sorry. So idea 1, that's what I'm going to talk about in main body. Paragraph 1 is cramped cages and natural environments, animal distressed. And then ideas 2 in main body 2 is breeding programs for endangered species, some species saved from extinction. So we are almost ready to start writing our discussion essay, but first we have one other small task to do. What is it? It's about vocabulary. In an essay, it is important to be able to say the same things in different ways, using synonyms, paraphrasing, okay? During the planning stage. Do this before you start writing. Quickly jot down a few synonyms of keywords you could use to save you having to stop and think of the right language while you are writing. We have already given you some examples in previous pages. And here again, I'm going to give you more examples. For example, zoos. What is zoos? Animals in captivity, okay? Collections of wild animals. Cruel. It's about, when you are talking about brutal, talking about to cause suffering or inhumane. Protect is safeguard or preserve. So these are synonyms of these words. Animals, you can use instead of animals in your essay, you could change it with creatures. One way, then you might change it with the species. So 3 words are good enough to write them. With that done, we can focus on the first paragraph of the essay, the introduction, how to write an introduction. Okay, so we have already now we are talking about how to write an introduction. So good introductions to discussion essays have a simple 3-part structure, as we have discussed that earlier. So paraphrase the question, state 2 supporting reasons, okay? That would be, this is the thesis statement, and give your opinion in your outline statement. So, or you can do the other way. So it is okay. So as I said earlier, you can bring thesis and outline statements together in one sentence. So as the thesis statement, again, it is summarize your main idea, okay, your main opinion, okay? So it should have, as we talked about this, again, 2-3 sentences, be 40-60 words long and take 5 minutes to write. That's what we have discussed previously. So here, number 1, paraphrase the question. Start your introduction by paraphrasing the question. So here we have group A, some people think that zoos are cruel and should be closed down. This view 1. View 2, useful in protecting wild animals. So discuss both views. So now you need to discuss view A and view B, and then you must give your opinion. So we have, as we already said, few A and few B, and then give or state your opinion. There are various phrases you can use to do this. Here are 3 examples. They all say the same thing using different language. You might start your essay by saying, some people argue that, and then say the few A, and then say while. So instead of however, others, it means other people, say that, and then say few B. Or you could say it is considered by some people, and then few A, while, instead of however. There are others, other people, who think few B. Or you could say it is often argued that, and then say few A, whilst, instead of however. Others, other people, disagree and think, and then say few B. So these phrases, these 3 phrases can help you to write your essay. I mean, there are lots of different phrases, but these 3, just 3 phrases as examples. Choose one and add the details in the question statement, and in a paraphrase form. I recommend putting the view you don't agree with first, as I mentioned earlier. If you start with the one that you agree with, then that's absolutely fine. It is entirely up to you. But to me, I think it's much easier. Okay. So at the end of the day, it's entirely up to you. Now it is time to paraphrase the question. Some people argue that zoos help to preserve wild creatures, while others say that they are inhumane and should be abolished. Let's see here, if we look at the main question here. Some people think that zoos are cruel and should be closed down. Others, however, believe that zoos can be useful in protecting wild animals. When it comes to paraphrased question, he says some people, group A, argue that zoos help to preserve wild creatures. Like, instead of protecting animals, he says preserved, protect. And it is a synonym here, preserve. Creatures, wild creatures, animals, okay? While, instead of however, others, they are inhumane. Inhumane, when you are talking about, it is instead of cruel, the word cruel is inhumane, or inhumane, cruel, brutal, harsh, suffering. All of them have the same meaning. So inhumane instead of cruel, and should be abolished. Abolished, it means to put an end to something, okay? It's like to cancel something, okay? It is abolished instead of closed down or shut down, okay? The zoo. So now here, the writer paraphrased the question, number 1, and number 2, he has changed different words with synonyms, or some words with synonyms. So not here, my use of synonyms, you don't have to replace every keyword, but do so where possible, whilst ensuring that your language sounds natural. So you don't need to change each word, each single word. So for example, the word zoo, I can't think of another word, but so I have repeated this word from the statement. So you don't need to change each single word, okay, keyword, but it's good to replace it with a synonym if it is appropriate, okay. Let's see the second one, thesis and outline statement. And I said this again before, and I'm going to say it again. It's good to bring it together as one sentence. So now we need to add an outline statement where you outline the two main points that you will cover in the rest of your essay, ideas 1 and 2. And this statement where you state your opinion. And again, I truly believe you can bring them together as one or two sentences, and you can call them thesis statement. But anyway, it's just one way of writing your essay. It is not a fixed rule. ما هي شيء ثابت. يعني تقدر إذا لك طريقة أخرى في كتابتها ولكن بشكل صحيح, that's absolutely fine. So outline and thesis statements. Let's see what we have done here. The writer says here, while the development of breeding programs, so breeding programs is about the planned breeding of a group of animals, okay, contributes to preservation of endangered species. I believe that the poor conditions that many animals held in captivity, it is about cages in zoos. It's a zoo is about cages, okay, where they keep animals in. So captivity are kept and make the existence of zoos unacceptable. So here, what the writer says here? He said he has paraphrased the question. He says some people argue that zoos help preserve wild creatures, while others say they are inhumane and should be abolished. And then in his outline and thesis statement, he says, while the development of breeding programs contributes to the preservation of endangered species, he says, look, I agree that the development of breeding programs and keeping animals endangered species, we are talking about animals who are in danger of extinction. Okay, so he says, I'm really glad to about this idea, but I believe that the poor conditions, okay, the poor conditions of the places where the animals are kept, okay, in captivity, in cages, make the existence of zoo unacceptable. Okay, so if you want to really keep the animals in zoos, then you must keep them in good conditions, not in poor conditions. Okay, so he needs now to explain that, because it is not. Now we understand what he wants to say, but we need more information about what he means here. So let's bring 3 elements of our introduction together. Our introduction, some people argue that zoos help to preserve wild creatures, while others says that they are inhumane and should be abolished. So we understand that in 2 groups we talked about, and we talked about those who they say useful protecting wild animals, and others say that that's cruel and zoos should be closed down or abolished because it's cruel and inhumane. So now we have already explained that. And then he says, while the development of breeding programs. So he says, I'm truly believe in the contribution of the preservation of endangered species. But what I can see is that these animals in zoos are kept in poor conditions, especially in small captivity cages. So let's see. This introduction achieves 3 important functions.
It shows the examiner that you understand the question by paraphrasing the question. It acts as a guide to the examiner as to what your essay is about. He tells us about the outline and the statement, what he is going to talk about. And it also helps to keep focus on track as you write. So now we know exactly what we are going to talk about. So we are going to talk about development of breeding programs. And we are going to talk about the animals are kept in captivity in poor conditions. So let's see. The two ideas in your introduction will become your two main body paragraphs. So the first one, breeding programs for endangered species. So I agree with that. I totally agree. That's what the writer says, because some species saved from extinction, okay? So, but the others say cramped cages. When you say cramped cages, it means a cramped cage. It means the cage or the place that's not big enough for the animals, animals in it. Okay, there is not enough space for them to move around freely. So unnatural environments is not natural environments for animals. So animal is distressed. Okay, so animal suffering, feeling extreme pain. Okay. Okay, so how to write main body paragraphs? Main body paragraph in discussion essays should contain three things: topic, sentence, explanation, example. You must do this, otherwise you won't get a good mark. Topic sentence outline the view you don't agree with, or you agree with, as you like. But as I said before, I prefer to start with disagree with. Then explain it. Why some people is held this view. Or why this view is held by some people. And then give us an example. It is easier to begin by discussing the opinion you don't agree with and then present the reasons for the opposing view that you support. So we'll start with idea one. Let's see main body paragraph one, and we are going to talk about the first idea, breeding programs. So the topic sentence summarizes the main idea of the paragraph. That's all it needs to do so. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just summarize your main idea in your topic. That's the topic sentence. It plays an important role in ensuring that your ideas flow logically from one to another. It does this by acting as a signpost for what is to come next. In other words, that's what the paragraph will be about. We'll now take the idea for our first main body paragraph and create our topic sentence. So here we have the main idea of our topic sentence. And now let's move on to the first idea in our main body paragraph one. So we have introduction, body one, body two, and then conclusion. So we have two ideas. We have breeding, the first one, breeding programs for endangered species, some species saved from extinction. Let's now bring them together. Our topic sentence, we need to start with, you could say, on the one hand, so if you are talking about two views, so on the one hand, there are many projects in existence in zoological parks around the world where species facing extinction have been successfully bred in captivity, and their numbers increased substantially. Let's see here. He says, on the one hand, that means there is another view. There are many projects in existence, okay, in zoological parks. When you are talking about zoological parks or garden, you can call it zoological park or garden. It is about the study of animal, okay? So it is a place where various living animals are kept within enclosures, displayed to the public, and may be used for the study, okay? That's what it means, zoological parks. Facing extinction. When you are talking about extinction, that means they are endangered, okay? Have been successfully bred in captivity. In captivity, in cages, in zoos. Bred, that means they bring them together to breed, to increase the numbers of these endangered or species or creatures or animals. Okay, so that's why their numbers increased substantially. That's a good way. That's a good way. So next, we must write and explain. So this is a topic sentence. Now we need to write an explanation sentence. We need to explain it, to expand this idea. This explains to the examiner what we mean or why this is the case. So now it is time to explain what you mean. What you mean by this? Why this is the case? Now it is the explanation sentence. This is important for to make sure the survival of animals and the threats from poaching. Here we have we have poaching. This is important for ensuring the survival of animals and the threat from poaching. Poaching is the illegal hunt, okay? Or so the poachers are illegal hunters. So illegally hunt. And the destruction of their natural environments, to destroy their natural environments. Okay, so finally, we add an example to support our main point. If you cannot think of a real example, just make it up, okay? So we have the topic sentence. We explain the topic sentence, this idea, and now it is time to give an example of this sentence. So here it says, a good example of this is the golden lion tamarin. So this is a type of animal. It is a monkey. It is, I believe it is a small monkey, okay, live in Brazil, which nearly died out. When you say die out, it means decrease. The number is decreased. The number of this creature is decreased. Why? Because of logging. We are talking about cutting down trees, okay? And mining activities, okay? When people, so we are talking about mining. The process or industry of obtaining coal or other minerals from a mine, okay, which are destroying its habitat. So the habitat is the environment or the home of animals, okay. So today, a third of wild golden lion were raised in captivity. Why? Because they are endangered, okay? Just to save them from extinction. Let's see the third or the next point here we have. Or before we go to the next point, let's see here again. So the example here is about the golden lion. Okay. Nearly died out. So that means this animal faces extinction. So he's in, or it's in danger of extinction. Okay. Because of the mining activities and as well the logging, okay, cutting down the trees. So that leads to destroy its habitat, their homes and environment. So today, a third of wild golden lion were raised in captivity. So this is a good way of the zoos or cages. Okay. Let's move on to the second point. Sorry, I missed the page. Okay, so here we are. That's the 3 parts of our first main body paragraph complete. Here is the finished paragraph. So let's see it. So on the one hand, when you say on the one hand, that means you are talking about one view, and you are going next talking about the second view. There are many projects in existence in zoological parks. We are talking about zoological parks, and it's used for the study. Okay. Around the world, where species facing extinction, we are talking about endangered creatures, animals that face or they are in danger of extinction, okay, have been successfully bred in captivity, okay, increase in numbers in cages, and their numbers increase substantially. This is the topic sentence. Our these statements, okay, or outline. This is important for ensuring the survival of animals under the threat from poaching. Okay, we are talking about the illegally hunt and the destruction that is to destroy their natural environments. So a good example, this is the example. A good example of this is the golden lion. Nearly dying out, that means facing extinction because of logging and mining activities to destroy their homes, habitats. Okay. So we have topic sentence, outline, and thesis statements. That's what we have okay. So here we have topic sentence, explain. We have the topic sentence. There are many projects in existence in zoological parks around the world where species facing extinction until substantially. This is the topic sentence. This is important for ensuring the survival of animals. This one is an explanation. We explain the idea. And then we say a good example. This is an example of the sentence. So I said earlier, outline these statements for this, but it is about explanation and example. So the first one, let me highlight it. Okay, it's difficult to highlight this one alone. Anyway, so from on the one hand until the increase substantially, it is a topic sentence. And then this is important for ensuring until their natural environments. This is an explanation. And a good example, it is so clear that it is an example of this idea. So we now follow the same process for our second main body paragraph. So we should do the same thing. So we have the idea. The main idea is cramped cages, okay? No big enough spaces for animals to move around. It is about unnatural environments, animal distress, okay? So if the animal, it is a state of extreme suffering or pain for animals because there is no enough space for them, okay, to move around. First, we write the topic sentence. Again, to summarize the main idea, we said number one topic sentence, and where we summarize the main idea. I started main body paragraph 1 with the phrase on the one hand. So main body paragraph 2 will naturally begin with on the other hand. It means you are going to talk about the second one. However, the second view, the opposing view, the second view. These are great cohesive devices. When you say, however, nonetheless, nevertheless, on the one hand, on the other hand, these are cohesive devices to use when making a direct contrast between two opposing views. So the first view and the second view is cramped cages. They are opposing views, okay? And they link the ideas together well. They can be used in most discussion essays and will help you earn a good score for cohesion and coherence. So let's see the topic sentence of body paragraph 2. On the other hand, a significant percentage of zoos house their animals in cramped cages with very little space to move around or behave naturally. That's why they say, okay, the first thing in body 1, they say it's good, to increase the numbers of the animals that face extinction. But here they says a significant percentage. There is a lot, a high rate of percentage of zoos house their animals in small cages and captivity with very little space, not big enough space for them to move around. So now this is a topic sentence. Now you need to explain it, to expand this idea, okay? So you could say this can lead them becoming distressed. Them refers back to animals, becoming distressed and depressed, as well as suffering physically through lack of exercise. So lack of exercise, because the cramped cages are not big enough for the animals to move around, then that would lead to suffering physically, to those animals to suffer physically through lack of exercise, through lack of moving around, okay, in cages as exercise. So finally, an example to support this point. So start by topic sentence, explanation, and then we need to give an example. So let's have an example. A friend of mine recently visited a wildlife park while on holiday abroad overseas and was very upset to see the lions pacing up and down in a narrow. So when you're saying pacing up and down, that means to walk with regular steps in one direction, then back again, okay? Because you are worried or nervous. So that's a negative thing, okay? Hairpin and eagles enclosures so small that they were unable to fly. So even the eagles in the cages cannot fly because they are kept in small places. Okay, and this is an example. So that's the three parts of our second main body paragraph complete. Here is the finished paragraph. Let's see what we have done so far. So let's see. This paragraph, body 2, it is on the one hand, a significant percentage of zoos house their animals in cramped cages with very little space to move around or behave naturally. This is the topic sentence. And then now it is time to explain it. This can lead to them becoming distressed and depressed, as well as suffering physically through lack of exercise. And then now it is time to give an example. A friend of mine recently visited a wildlife park while on holiday abroad and was very upset to see the lions pacing up and down in a narrow bear pen and eagles enclosures so small that they were unable to fly. So number one, they say animals kept in small, cages, so there is no big space for animals to move around naturally and freely. And then he explained that, and he says these animals becomes depressed and they suffer physically through lack of moving around because they are kept in so small places where they are unable to move around as exercise. And then he says he has given us an example. He says his friend visited a wildlife park, and then he saw lions, walking with regular steps in one direction, just one direction, and then back again, because they are worried and nervous. They don't have enough space to move around, and bear pen and eagles in enclosures so small that they were unable to fly. So when you have eagles, you need to have large, big cages where they can at least fly, not freely, I would say, but they might have enough space to fly and walk around. But he's so small cages where even eagles cannot fly freely, or naturally. So now we need a conclusion, and our discussion is done. So how to write a conclusion? Conclusions to discussion essays should do two things: summarize the main points, just paraphrase the main ideas, and then state your opinion, give your opinion, say your opinion. This can generally be done in a single sentence. You can do it in one sentence or two sentences. It is entirely up to you. If you are below the minimum 200 or 250 words after you've written your conclusion, you can add your prediction or recommendation statement. It's okay. So the conclusion is the easiest sentence in the essay to write, but one of the most important. So a good conclusion must be easy and neatly. You need to write it in a neat way and easy way. Link all your ideas together, the main ideas together, link them together. Summarize them, sum up, summarize your argument or opinion. Answer the question. So you can start almost any final paragraph of a discussion essay with the words. You could say, in conclusion, comma, or to conclude, comma, or sum up, comma, in summary, comma. You need to choose one of them, You can't write all of them, just one. And then start your conclusion by summarizing the key words or main points, and then give your opinion or state your opinion. Now, all you need to do is briefly summarize the main ideas into one sentence. Here is a top tip. Go back and read the introduction. This, just to make it easy for you, okay? It is a top tip for you, to be honest. Go back and read the introduction to the essay, because this is also a summary of the essay. So it outlines what you are going to write about. So to create a good conclusion, you simply have to paraphrase the introduction. So you have the introduction. In your introduction, you have a topic sentence, you have outline, and these statements. So just paraphrase them. So we have here the introduction. Some people argue that zoos help to preserve wild creatures, while others say that they are inhumane and should be abolished. While the development of breeding programs contributes to the preservation of endangered species, I believe that the poor conditions that many animals held in captivity are kept in make the existence of zoos unacceptable. When you say I believe, it means in my opinion, okay? So here is the same information formed into a conclusion. So it is about paraphrasing the introduction. تعيد صياغتها. Restate your words or your ideas in different way. Okay. In conclusion, all the zoos do help to safeguard, to preserve, okay, dwindling populations, decrease populations of particular species, okay, those animals which face extinction, the suffering experienced by many captive creatures due to unsuitable living conditions, okay, amounts to cruelty, and they should not be allowed to exist. Anyway, so in conclusion, here you can see that. So what we have here in our conclusion is just we have paraphrased the introduction. Again, in conclusion, although zoos do help to safeguard, to preserve, dwindling, it means to decrease populations of particular species, the suffering experienced by many captive creatures due to unsuitable living, the poor condition, amounts to cruelty, okay, the brutality, okay, and they should not be allowed to exist. So in this way, we have just paraphrased the introduction, okay, and then here you could say here, the first one, safeguard. This is one of the main point, and then this is the second point, and then he says here, unsuitable living conditions amounts to cruelty, and they should not be allowed to exist. So he mentioned that. He says, even though zoos help to preserve or protect, decreasing the numbers of endangered species, the suffering, the problem here is the suffering is inhumane, the suffering experienced by many captive creatures, the suffering, the inhumane experience that those animals have experienced in cages because of poor conditions to brutality and they shouldn't be allowed to exist. That means he doesn't agree with. So he says, yes, that's good, but again, I'm not happy about the poor conditions of the zoos. If so, then they should keep them in a nice place, in a big enough place, in a suitable living conditions, in a good conditions. Okay, so that's what he said. So he mentioned the good thing about to save or protect animals from those endangered creatures or animals or species from extinction. But again, he says, I don't like keeping animals in poor conditions, in unsuitable living conditions where they suffer from the small spaces. Okay. So now we have comes to an end. That's what we have got, the whole essay. So this is the introduction, main body paragraph 1, main body paragraph 2, and the conclusion. So here, so that's what we have got, inshallah, for today. Thank you very much, and inshallah we will see you soon for another topic. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.